Good morning. Dear members of the IIPC Steering Committee, dear members of the Web Archiving Conference Organizing Committee, dear colleagues, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to the Grand Auditorium of the BNF. Some of you were already there yesterday morning for this 2024 Web Archiving Conference. I have to begin by expressing my gratitude for all the work done by the IIPC Organizing Committee, together with the Legal Deposit Department of the National Library of France, in order to organize this event. Allow me to express my special thanks to my team, Annabelle Tatiboué and Nyffenegger, my deputies, Evarestos Pamplis, Benoît Tulot, head of the Legal Deposit Department, Vladimir Tibin, that you all know, head of the Digital Legal Deposit Service, as well as Noah Ndai's deputy, and all those who have contributed to the organization of the conference. As a result of their work, we are here today to discuss the evolution of Internet preservation, web archiving, or the legal deposit of the web, say it as you wish. Here among us, there are many ways of expressing our mission, but in the end, we are all working towards the same goal, preserving digital heritage. In 2024, looking at how numerous we are in this auditorium, we can rejoice about the impact of our mission. And I believe we should. However, according to the IIPC figures, only about 20 countries have adopted legislation on web archiving today, and 35 nations are members of our consortium. Therefore, as much as web archiving successful can be, we can't ignore the fact that it still doesn't concern a large part of the world, and mainly the wealthy part of our world. And that consequently, a large part of humanity's contemporary memory is still at peril, and that the web activity of billions of citizens is still not preserved. And I'm sure that many of us believe, in line with the Indian historian Sanjay Subramaniam, that I'm sure you all know, specialist of connected history, that if we want to study our societies, we have to do it in a global perspective. So, while the achievements of the past 21 years are incredible, we have to stay focused on spreading word of web archiving's importance for international cooperation. Here we are, of course, all already convinced of web archiving's virtues, but we also have to collectively contemplate the challenges this mission is facing in our ever-changing societies and in the context of rapidly evolving technologies. When it comes to technologies, we are facing numerous technical challenges, and I would like just to quote some of them that you will discuss later on during the day. One of them is the growing difficulty to crawl certain parts of the web, notably social media platforms. Unlike static web pages, social media content is dynamic, constantly changing, and often protected by user privacy settings. This makes it challenging for us and for web crawlers to capture and preserve this content effectively. Additionally, we have to face the redefinition of API's perimeter due to the web content monetization stakes. We all remember the change of Twitter's data accessing policy when it became X. In response to these changes, our patrimonial institution strengths will lay in bridging the gap between our traditional expertise and new specialized technical skills. Above technical changes, our mission raises ethical and local legal questions, especially when it comes to protection of intellectual property rights. Those who were there yesterday evening, you hear our president told us that at the BNF, legal considerations are at the heart of the evolution of the legal deposit. And we are working deeply towards implementing the digital legal deposit enshrined by the French law in 2021, entitled Law Aimed at Strengthening the Book Economy and Reinforcing Fairness and Trust between its players. This is not a coincidence that the French government has decided to use these words. It shows how important it is for our government and for our institutions to think about the fairness about, of course, creators, but also content owners. Furthermore, of course, I can't just skip the question of artificial intelligence and how we owe, as data collectors, to define strategies to deploy this technology in our institutions, to help in our mission. This is even more the case for massive datasets, such as web archives. Of course, AI could enhance the discoverability of our digital collection, but it can also help us with metadata generation. And this is why, in 2017, the BNF embarked on the redesign of its catalog production tool. This will be a great revolution for us. Our future new tool, Noemi, will be designed to allow various cataloging modalities, from individual cataloging to the processing of massive streams. But it will also allow AI to work on our catalog data. Additionally, AI will help discoverability through harnessing the potential of large language models for the creation of content, recommendation systems, natural language processing, and image recognition. All these aspects are comprised in the BNF's AI roadmap. I can say that Emmanuelle, who is there just today, was at the beginning of this BNF AI roadmap, and I would just like to greet her today because it was really something that was really precursive at the time and that we are still relying on to go further. We have, for the moment, one industrialized AI project, which is Gallica Image, which focuses on image recognition in our digital collection. But for us, and this is something we are very much concerned for the moment, AI raises new legal and economic challenges, from strengthening copyright protection to the recognition of the value of the economic value of the data which are produced by our cultural institutions. Finally, I'd like to address the necessity of adapting our calls to the actuality. Today, our program will begin with a conference on one of the BNF's 2023 emergency call, but in fact, in 2023, two of them were held. First of all, the collection of skyblocks that you will hear about is a call for one of the first social networks launched in 2002 in France, which provided its members with a personalized digital space for free, and that was terminated in August 2023. This collection lasted 85 days for the preservation of about 12.6 million blogs and a total of about 1.9 billion of URLs collected. Secondly, the collection of personal pages from the French Telecommunication Corporation, Orange, that you may know, a space that allowed its customers to create one or more websites, and which was also ended in September 2023. The latter enabled the preservation of about 300,000 sites and 26 million URLs. This calls shows that our patrimonial institutions might be experiencing an historical tipping point, as scrolling the web redefines the traditional border between libraries and archives. And this is probably not a coincidence why in BNF we are always hesitating about speaking about archive du web, web archiving, and the digital legal deposit of the web, which is more in line with our mission. For 2024, we of course don't know what the emergency crawls will be. However, regarding selective crawls, we already know that they will focus on the European election, of course, and the Olympic Games. My dear colleagues, as a former international affairs officer, I would like to conclude this introduction by saying that none of these challenges can be faced without international cooperation. The IIPC and its working groups have proved how important cooperation is in these troubled times, when patrimonial collections and collective memory becomes a weapon at the service of war. All the work we have collectively achieved to help preserve Ukraine's web heritage is a perfect proof of our mission's significance. Because in the end, this is what web archiving is about: offering resources for citizens to establish reality today and for researchers to shred line the past tomorrow. In this book, La Société féodale, Marc Bloch, a famous French historian, wrote that the historian is by no means a free man. He knows only what the past wants him to know. And this is so true. When historians will study the war in the future, we will be accountable for having provided them with the facts they need. So the program of this year reflects our ambition to preserve digital heritage. It is composed of diverse array of conferences, workshops, and discussion. And we will also have the honor of receiving Benoît Sagot, holder of the Chair of Computer Science and Digital Technology at the Collège de France, one of our country's most prestigious research institutions, who will deliver the closing remarks of this conference. I hope you will enjoy this exciting program, as well your stay in our institution. And I now leave the floor to Milena Stupar and my dear colleagues from INA. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, dear Isabelle Nyffenegger, for your precious words, which INA, l'Institut National de l'Audiovisual, as a heritage institution and a custodian for the French broadcast and online memory, can only endorse. I am deeply honored to stand in front of you all today to open this new session of the Web Archiving Conference. And let me add my most sincere thanks to all organizers and, of course, to our distinguished host, the National French Library. You have rightly reminded us, Isabelle, of the missions we share, collecting and preserving internet contents, fostering their curation, their dissemination, encouraging initiatives leading to their constitution, and guaranteeing both their accessibility and discoverability. In addition to those missions we share, to these common values we nurture and tend, I believe we pursue a goal of complementarity. Complementarity as we combine a vision of long-term historical issues with the necessity of alert technical monitoring of the web and its swift and ever-swifting changes. Complementarity as continuity between the layers of this web heritage we keep building and we have been building for the past 20 and almost 30 years, and that now encompasses a range of objects which greatly vary in usage and context, from the early text-only websites, from the skyblogs you mentioned and that INA and BNF together collect and preserve, to current TikTok videos. And yet, we archivists know that both these objects are as complementary as they are different. a complementarity that also expands beyond the borders of web archives themselves. At a time when internet has become the main tool for information, the 2006 law, which in France extended the legal deposit to the web, has ensured both continuity and consistency between traditional media, such as radio and TV heritage that we collect and preserve at INA, with the most recent web media collections in which online sounds and videos have come to occupy an overwhelming place. Bridges were the thrown that could be easily crossed from one media to another by our users, be they students, academics, or journalists. Complementarity at last, seen as embodied in the collaborative spirit that brings us all together here today, and that the IIPC has fostered since its inception, by making collaboration between institutions a key element to ensure consistent coverage of this gigantic web heritage. And indeed, in a field that has become so vast, it will take no less than the combined efforts of those 35 countries to convey to future generations an accurate picture of what online uses and practices looked like in the 21st century. The work we share also requires quite a few skills when you think about it. Self-reflection on our practices so that we can make them better as we go, alongside with alertness and intuition much needed in order to keep up with the major shifts induced by the development of AI today. But still, with AI, lies complementarity again. So agility, at least as it seems, remains another keyword in this constantly shifting ecosystem. And indeed, through the years, I think our community has seized the opportunities given by the new digital world to adapt, enrich, or reinvent the services we offer and to connect them to a wider audience. As a matter of fact, we have known early on that web heritage, coming with extensive data, would call for analytics, computational methods, and AI-supported tools. Recently, data labs have flourished here and there and have confirmed our heritage collection as a tool not only to study the web looking back in time, but also to study social history, and has confirmed our collection as an unrivaled source for digital humanities. INA is no exception to this trend, as we have developed specific and targeted services aimed at providing scholars with access to data sets that match specific research questions, but also with expertise and training in the use of algorithms. The launch of this new service has regrouped researchers who could be sociologists, media historians, economists, computer scientists, all eager to use digital and internet contents in their research, combining, for instance, uses of computational machine learning, as well as data from social media. They thus paved the way to new contributions to our understanding and decoding of the modern media landscape. So, complementarity, alertness, and last but not least, I think, reliability. For while collecting and preserving internet contents, while archiving objects that appear and disappear, we develop a record of facts that we check, describe, and document. And in a time when disinformation and fake news have become major issues, well, web archiving might be one of our most active parts in building tomorrow's heritage. I've been honored to share these few remarks with you and wish you an excellent conference day. Thank you.